Hi folks, HR Funk here. The footage you've just been watching was recorded yesterday when I was out at the range with my Tizosh 1911 Raider pistol. And this handgun, you may recall, I purchased a few months ago. I was extremely excited to get one of these, and I've been told that since I got this one, the supply has somewhat dried up. They're becoming more and more difficult to get. Hopefully Tizosh will get another shipment in soon. But I have been keeping track of the performance of this handgun ever since I started to shoot it. And at this point, I now have 600 rounds through. As of yesterday, the last shot that I fired yesterday was my 600th round, cycled through the Tizosh Raider. And I wanted to give you all an update as to how it's doing and what my opinion is of this handgun at this point. Now, one thing I want to make you aware of here at the outset is the fact that I was intentionally neglecting the maintenance of this handgun during the time that I've been shooting it because I wanted to see exactly how long it was going to go before it required a cleaning and lube and all that. So I had not cleaned it from the day that I first took it out to shoot, and I had not lubed it since it had about 150 rounds through it. Even so, the only malfunctions that I had from a cycling perspective were very early on with some hollow point ammunition. In fact, that was in the first 50 or 60 rounds, and that was also in the very first evaluation video. You can go back and watch that to see what took place in that test. And since that time, again, I have not cleaned it, I had not lubed it since around the 150 round point, and I have been shooting it and shooting it and shooting it. And this was going to be a 500 round update, but literally on the 500th round, now keep in mind that was 350 rounds since the last time it had been lubed, and it had not been cleaned at all within essentially 500 rounds. On the 500th round, I experienced a malfunction. It was a failure for the slide to go fully into battery. And so rather than come back and give you an update at that point, I decided to see if that was some sort of an anomaly or if it was an indication that Tizosh Raider was just letting me know how unhappy it was with me for neglecting it and not giving it the proper cleaning and maintenance and lubrication and all that. So I went back out again with another 50 rounds of ammunition, and between shot 501 and 550, I experienced two more of those exact same stoppages. Now, that had not occurred at all the whole way through with the ammunition that I was using, which was 230 grain ball ammunition. So I suspected that, once again, the handgun was letting me know how unhappy it was with me for neglecting it. I brought it back, I cleaned it, I lubed it, and went back out to the range, and from shot number 551 to 600, the pistol ran flawlessly. And you saw a lot of those shots in that footage at the beginning of this video. So something to be aware of with the 1911 handgun is there is a toll to be paid for the performance you get from these pistols. That toll is you do have to give them a modicum of care and maintenance. They do need to be cleaned fairly routinely, and they need to be lubricated properly. If that is done, these handguns will serve you very, very well. If you neglect them, they might just decide to neglect you at the worst possible time. So the Raider is not immune from that, and I would not expect it to be, truthfully. I was just kind of trying to see how far I could push it before it would finally choke, and that happened on shot number 500. From this point forward, as I make my way toward 1,000 rounds, I am going to be cleaning and lubricating the Raider the way I do all my other 1911 pistols, and we'll see if I experience any more stoppages in that time. I really don't expect to, but I'm going to keep track of it. Beyond the functioning with 230 grain ball ammo, which is the bulk of what I fire through this, I've also fired some other types of ammunition. I've fired some different types of hollow points. I fired some semi-wad cutter ammunition a while back. Some of you might have seen that video. And the Raider demonstrated some exceptional accuracy with that ammunition. And it has just eaten everything that I have fed it, even though, as I said, I wasn't cleaning it, I wasn't lubing it. So the cycling of this handgun has been very, very impressive, and I don't think I could expect any more from it than I've seen. Now, another thing that I mentioned during the 250 round update, and I wanted to update you on it today, was an issue with the plunger tube spring in the Raider. If you saw the 250 round update, you might recall that I mentioned a few instances below 100 rounds where the slide stop would engage early with ammunition still in the magazine. And I suspected that was a weak plunger tube spring. I also suspected it because the safety function was not as positive as I would like it to be. So I did replace the plunger tube spring with a Wilson Combat unit. That was a very quick, very inexpensive repair, and that problem has not occurred again since then. So that seems to have taken care of that issue once and for all. When it comes to accuracy, I think if anything, the accuracy of the Raider pistol has improved during the time I've been shooting it, or maybe just my ability to shoot it has improved. In any case, there have been times where this pistol has demonstrated some extremely good accuracy, and I'll put a few shots up on the screen right now so you can see some of these groups. The first one was a 7-yard group fired offhand. The second one was a 25-yard group fired offhand, and that one measures 2.5 inches. So I was extremely happy with that. With ammunition the pistol likes, it is capable of extremely good accuracy, and it has never demonstrated poor accuracy. Accuracy is always at least acceptable and sometimes exceptional. So now let's move in and take a close-up look at the Raider, and I'll show you some other things during this 600 round update. So as you can see, I've disassembled the Raider and also cleaned the various parts to give you a look at the wear that has taken place, or maybe I should say the lack of wear. If you take a look at the frame rails there, you can see that most of the Cerakote is actually still there after 600 rounds of use. And this pistol is fit quite tightly. I'll show that when I get it back together. But there is not a lot of wear at all, either to the finish or definitely not to the steel parts themselves. I showed this during the 250 round update. If you look closely, there's a little bit of finish wear under the safety, and I've got to tell you, I couldn't care less about that. That's just one of those things that indicates the handgun is being used. Turning our attention to the slide, and I'll try to get some light so you can see in there. Similarly, we're seeing very little wear, little bit of finish wear on the bottom of the slide here, which I think is to be expected. If you can see down inside, you can see that the slide locking lugs are being burnished somewhat. The same thing is occurring, not surprisingly, with the barrel locking lugs. So any microscopic high surfaces on these parts are being burnished away, which will only serve to increase the functional reliability. I can't remember if I showed this before or not, but there is the polishing on the frame feed ramp. And I'll grab the barrel. And there is the corresponding barrel feed ramp. And as you can see, it's not quite polished to the same degree as the frame feed ramp, but with the functional reliability being what it is, I'm not going to do a thing to it. I'm not going to break out a Dremel and start grinding away or anything else. You can also get a look down the bore there. See if I can get a better focus, maybe to help you out with that. And see that, and I had it and lost it. There, that's a little better. You'll look at the polishing and the finish on this Tizosh barrel. And here is the Raider reassembled, lubed, and ready for duty. And as I mentioned a moment ago, it is very tightly fit. There is nothing in the way of rattles that you hear with this handgun. One minor issue that I did run into with the Raider that I should mention is after shooting or during shooting, the grip screws would start to loosen. And I would notice when I got back home that the panels were somewhat loose and I would have to tighten the screws back down. I did that several times, and finally I just Loctited these screws because I was tired of messing with them. So that was a simple fix, but that is something you could run into if you end up purchasing one of these handguns. And we'll finish this close-up inspection with a look at the finish. I showed this during the 250 round update. It might have progressed a little bit more since then, but not much. You see a few marks there in the finish, but most of the finish looks very, very good on this handgun. And again, any finish wear that's on here, to me anyway, just is an indication that the handgun is actually being used. but the finish wear is very, very light. See a little bit in the magazine well, and really, who cares? So in terms of finish wear and parts wear, the Raider has held up very, very well during this first 600 rounds of firing. The trigger has also improved during my 600 round break-in period. When this pistol was brand new, there was just a hint of creep in the trigger pull, and if you watch my trigger finger closely, you will see no movement whatsoever now before the trigger releases. So that's nice to see. And I believe the pull weight has also decreased slightly. I had a 3-pull average when the pistol was unfired of about 5 pounds 6 ounces. And I'll grab my Lyman trigger pull gauge and we'll see where the trigger is breaking now. Okay, I will see if I can get a reading on where the Raider's trigger is breaking currently. I think I overpulled that just a little bit. First one broke at 5 pounds 3.2 ounces. See if I can get a little better pull the second time around. That was better. Just over 5 pounds. 5 pounds 0.7 ounces. And a little heavier that time, 5 pounds 4.2 ounces for a 3-pull average of 5 pounds 2.7 ounces. So about 4 ounces lighter than it was in the beginning. So there you go, folks. That's my 600 round update on the Tizosh Raider. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I want to say thanks to all my sponsors, Optics Planet, Hot Munitions, Targets Online. I could not make these videos without their assistance. And thanks to all of you for watching and for 10 years worth of support here on the channel. And I'll leave you with a view of shot number 600 through the Raider.